Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, the show that brings you weekly advice and news at the beginning of every weekend. Introducing first your hosts, Mac, Mark, and Landon. We are back in a big way today. We want to welcome you into the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your smooth-talking veteran player apologist, Mackenzie. My friends call me Mac, and I'm joined by my good friend, longtime co-host, and self-proclaimed DFS expert, Landon. What's going on, Lando?
I am doing excellent this morning. We have a special episode. I can't wait for the changes ahead on this podcast.
Changes? What do you mean?
I would like our new host to introduce himself. This is my boy, Mark. We've been longtime friends. He is not the best daily fantasy player, but I'll let him.
He's not the best looking.
He's not the best looking. He's not the best talker in the world. I'm not even sure why he's here today, but we'll get Mark a chance to speak for himself.
Jeez, all this momentum. You guys really put me on a pedestal there. Thanks. Hello out there, fantasy listeners. Now, right now, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, I know that voice. Yeah, that's the guy who analyzed the NFC West back in the summertime on that episode. Man, that guy was spot on. His teams must be killing it.
I remember this voice actually as the winner of the Snap Draft.
Of course, I am known in many circles. But yes, that is me. However, to assume I'm doing well in fantasy football would be inaccurate. So I'm Mark. I'm the newest addition to the pod. The boys selected me in an arduous decision of whose snack game goes the hardest. So listen to Patreon Pod 7 if you don't already know. Landon and I, we go back a long time. Friends, fans of football. He and Mac have been awesome together this year, both entertaining and informative with league updates, hot takes, personal jabs about each other's unfortunate physical appearance and lack of charisma. When they drafted me third overall onto this podcast, I feigned a smile, hoisted my jersey up, and went and bought myself a mic. So now, the NFL is a big part of my life. No, I'm not doing the greatest in fantasy, but the upsets, the comebacks, characters, and statistics have always been an interest. One super fact about me is that I've been playing fantasy football since 2001, when I was 12. So while I may not have the win records to prove it, I've at least got stripes. And boys, I've been waiting a while to say it. I don't know if you've heard yet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I may as well say, the Saturday Morning Snap is a one-stop fantasy shop, bringing you weekly news and advice in under an hour. I'm Mark Poole. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. What an intro.
Oh, how can we live up to that now?
Wow. Boys, mark it in your calendar. Saturday, November 24th, Mark Poole comes and destroys the Saturday Morning Snap intro.
That's why you're on. That's why you got the invite. What a legend. This is going to be this is the turning point of our podcast. Bang.
We are on Instagram. You should check us out there at Saturday Morning Snap. We are also on Twitter. I am SMS_fantasy. I'm running the main account for us. Landon is Landon_SMS. And Mark is at MarkDraft_SMS. Okay, boys, daily question to kick off the pod today. Who is the greatest trio of all time? And you can interpret this any way you like.
Like the Killer Bees in Pittsburgh?
Like
formerly the Killer Bees?
Formerly, yes, but you can answer this in fantasy, like football. You can answer this in food. You can answer this as movie characters. Doesn't matter. Who's the greatest trio of all time in your mind?
I'm going to lead us off. And this is quite relevant if you've caught any new trailers for Disney coming up. I am going Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa.
Oh my gosh. That is out of left field.
Here we go.
Have you seen that new? It's not live action, but it's all digital. The new Lion King coming out. I've always been a huge Lion King fan. That's my favorite trio. I don't really have justification to why that is. I mean, Pumbaa's the dopey friend, always happy-go-lucky.
He
Timon's
puts up numbers, though. Back in 94, he had a huge year.
Rushing guards off the charts.
Timon would be the offensive coordinator of that group, and Simba's the quarterback. He's the man. He is the goat before the goat. He would eat the goat. He would eat Tom Brady for breakfast.
Wow.
That is my trio, and I can't wait to see the new movie coming out.
Strong take. Mark, what are you going with?
You know what? I'm going to go a different route here and go with the Beastie Boys. I'm a huge fan of music. I love rap music, and especially like East Coast 90s kind of stuff, like lyrical. They're party animals. It was really fun. And, they brought their own flavor to the rap game. And I just love them for their uniqueness. So trio-wise, I don't think there's anyone in my books that beats out the boys from Brooklyn. Beastie Boys.
Oof. See, I was going a different direction, but I think the obvious choice here is Harry, Ron, Hermione from Harry Potter. But I'm not gonna go with the sellout play. I'm gonna go with my boys Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Just because of the rhyme game with those names. 3 little mischievous ducks. I mean, how can you go wrong?
All right. So today we're gonna switch up our podcast, the format a little bit. We've got lots of daily questions. We've got some personal stuff. We want to know about Mr. Mark. We want to know more about Mac. Not just your
really,
terrible
though.
fantasy takes. We want to hear about yourself. But first, we'll start with fantasy. All right. Well,
did we actually determine who was the DFS winner last week?
I have no idea. I think we both had some good takes and both some bad takes.
Yeah. Looking back at the year so far, who do you have a 2018 fantasy football soft spot for? Who's a guy that you love him even though he's maybe had a down year?
Oof.
I can answer for you, Landon. Maybe Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, that's the obvious answer. I know I wrote this question, but I don't have one prepared. I would say a fantasy soft spot for, it's got to be a wide receiver for me. I would say between like a Golden Tate or Nelson Aguilar. Like it's Aguilar, I've just been an apologist for all season long. When Wentz got back, I had a chance to sell him for high, but I refused because Wentz was going to be this touchdown machine. He looked for Aguilar last year, made him fantasy relevant. Aguilar has not been dropping the ball like he has in previous years, but he's also just not getting the targets. So I moved on from him a couple of weeks ago. He put up a donut last week after that terrible Wentz game, but I've moved on since. He's probably I've got a soft spot for him, but that soft spot has gotten hard. Marky, you have a soft spot for someone.
Yeah, I want to take a moment to talk about Kenny Stills, who at the start of this season may have been worth something. Right now, he is so boom or bust that it's hard to really justify any kind of format where you put him as a starter. And the Miami Dolphins in general are not a team that takes a lot of strikes downfield. So Kenny Stills really shines when he gets bomb passes, but he doesn't get those. Ryan Tannehill is afraid to take lots of shots, and rightly so. I don't think he has the best arm. But Kenny Stills, I can't drop him. I don't know why. He goes through injuries. He goes through the coldest of cold periods. But I keep Kenny Stills anyway.
If you need help with that, I can click that minus button for you real quick.
Mac, who you got?
This guy I've been patient with. I've held in a lot of leagues, and it's going to be Aaron Jones. And I'm going to stay close to home. It's just a little bit sad that it's taken 10 weeks for him to really get the workload he deserved.
So you're going the other direction. Mark and I picked terrible wide receivers, and you're going with a stud running back.
Yeah, exactly. Because I need to look good.
Yeah. Don't sleep on proven amazing players.
He has not. He just became proven. Wow.
All right. So
You're a hack. You know nothing.
You're right. I know nothing.
All right. Here's a question for you guys. So both of you are teachers.
Correct.
I'm sure you love your jobs, and you also love your jobs as terrible fantasy analysts.
Yes.
But if you could do anything else in the world for a career, for a lifetime, what would you pick? We'll start with Marky.
Well, aside from the obvious astronaut, policeman, fireman combo, I don't know. I think that's tough to say, man. I think there's been a lot of allure for something with my hands. I had a construction background. I'd love to be like either a mechanic or like a woodworker, something that just requires nothing but pure focus, dexterity, and tact. I think in my current job, there's been a lot of exposure to, other people's problems and, not really having a ton of time to just myself.
Yeah.
And time to myself is something that I really have come to appreciate. So I think if I were to choose one thing that I could do, like for maybe a couple months out of the year, probably like a mechanic or some kind of builder, carpenter. Maybe.
I respect that. Carpenter would be a really cool job. Woodworker, really design, really cool stuff. Interesting. I like that answer, Mark.
Yeah, that's it.
Not afraid of hard work.
That's a different take. I'll go also the hard work route. Like if I were to, let's say I won Lotto Max and I didn't check my ticket last night, but my ticket's the winner. At 29 years of age, I would probably give it a go to try and become a professional golfer. I think that's, if you know me, that's an obvious answer, but I would just love the thrill of the grind and the chase. And I feel like my game's always been, fairly decent at that level. I mean, I would have to put in a lot of time to my body and my game to make it like polished, but it would be something I would, going into my mid to late 30s, I would love to give it a go for like 10 years if I had the time and the money. But like Mark said, you don't get a lot of that time to yourself. Like I get 2 months in the summer to play golf, and that's kind of it. So,
and you have just so much fury to unleash on a golf ball after a year of teaching children.
Oh, the club head speeds in the first week of July are off the charts.
That vein on your forehead really comes to fruition in June.
I think if you would go between June 25th and July 10th, I could probably be sponsored by Remax. Just how much club head speed we're generating from the fury.
So I am probably going with I like your hard work take there, Marky and Mac. I mean, being a professional golfer, the grind is for sure real. Mm-hmm. And if you're not worried about money, I mean, it's going to be more fun than that if you win Lotto Max. I'd like to lead hikes. I'd like to go on climbing excursions, do that kind of thing, talk to people. I right now I surf for a living, so I mean I do enjoy talking and meeting new people. So
we know.
I would be also like a cruise ship yoga instructor. I think that would be fun. I have zero flexibility. That would not be in the realm of outcomes for me, but I think it would be an interesting career. You get to see the Caribbean, see the world, and be relaxed and chill out.
I love the specificity of that. The cruise ship yoga instructor. Fuck.
Yeah. So what I've learned about Landon in the last 2 minutes is he's an inner hippie.
You'll meet all those old single ladies on the cruise ship and just wheel hard.
I hope Drew doesn't listen to the podcast.
No, Drew doesn't listen.
Last daily question before we get into news and notes and all the other fantasy goodness. What have you learned this year about fantasy football that you'll take into next year?
So this one, I thought about this for a few minutes, and I came up with this interesting paradox in my head. So I like to think of it as Schrodinger's notification. Are you guys familiar with Schrodinger's cat?
Yes.
So Schrodinger's cat, basically, like, the concept is essentially you have a cat in a box. You're not able to see it, but by causing a small flask of radioactive material to open and be exposed inside the box, the observer has no way of knowing whether the cat is alive or dead inside the box. Okay, so what's this have to do with fantasy? Well, when you get a notification on your phone that says fantasy alert, the player in question their status has changed from ... So looking at that notification, you don't know whether it's changed to healthy. You don't know whether it's changed to out. You don't know whether it's changed to dead. Who knows? Who knows what that notification says? It could
Arrested?
be the best thing in the world. It could be the worst thing in the world. And then sometimes those notifications slip past me, and I don't. There was definitely one week when, like, seeing that injury report at the last minute would have changed a week around, because I ended up playing someone who was a game time decision and he was out. So closer attention right at game time, I guess, with that paradox of the notification, not knowing whether players are healthy or injured. That's one thing that next year I'm going to be looking at right up until 1:00 on Sundays.
You got to get on the Sleeper app, my man. That is the best place for news.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it's great.
Love Sleeper, by the way. Love sleeping.
Both are good. For me, the one thing that I've learned in 2018 for fantasy is go with your gut. I have gotten into the habit of setting my lineups earlier in the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, right after waivers, and then, trying not to touch them throughout the week, because lineup tinkering can kill you, and indecision can be the fault of many fantasy football players. So for me, go with your gut. Obviously, injury news will have an impact on your choices down the road, but try not to lineup tinker. Go with the guys that you feel good with earlier in the week, and that will, if you stick to that as a hard rule, that's going to be something I think serves you well moving forward. But we're going to jump into the news and notes for the week. I would like to kick it off with my boy, Rob Gronkowski, who I've been waiting on for a while to come back. And looking into week 12, we hear out of New England that Gronk is going to be returned. He has a juicy matchup against the Jets. Is this the time to put your trust back into Gronk, or do you think that we got to move on and that we don't want to take any gambles on his health? Mark, what do you think?
New England always does a number on the Jets, especially this time of year. They're going to destroy them, and I think Gronk has a ton to prove. Even Tom Brady will have a ton to prove, and I think he's going to put it on a plate for Gronk today.
I hope so. I mean, it's certainly, I'm a Gronk owner in a couple places, Dynasty for sure, which I feel like if I had Gronk, I could have beat you. No, maybe not. What I lose by, I think, 30 points.
This guy's the master of coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Didn't. No, it's I think with him coming back, he is still the best tight end in the league, even though Ertz has been on fire and Kelsey's been no slouch himself, as expected. But Gronk's still the best tight end in the league, and if he plays, you got to plug him in and play him. I think it's as simple as that.
Yep.
But
Hot take, Gronk is done. He's not the same. He's done for the year. They're missing they're exiting first round of the playoffs. He's retiring.
I mean, I would love to see the Patriots not even, contend for a Super Bowl. That'd be fantastic. How refreshing. I want to see another Rams Chiefs battle.
Oh,
Can we get that? Can we get that?
Oh wait, I guess I can't be a biased NFL.
No. On this podcast, you can throw hella shade.
We're fully biased. We know it.
Have you not been listening? Any Packers take, I'm all over.
Ever since Brady went in for Bledsoe, I've just been like, oh, when's Bledsoe getting back in? But obviously, he's long gone. Not from my heart, though.
Speaking of that Rams-Chiefs bonanza on Monday night, a lot of people said, I can't believe Gurley didn't have a better game in like the greatest fantasy matchup of all time. Later, we get a report from Sean McVay confirming that Gurley was limited due to an ankle injury. He says he's fine moving forward, but are you concerned for Gurley at all?
This is a time where you need to handcuff Gurley.
You think? Okay.
If especially going into the playoffs, Gurley got you to the playoffs, and this is a time where you really should. You should add his backup. They're on bye this week, so he's probably available on waiver wires. But to be honest, I'm not concerned too much about Gurley. He should be fine. His ankle. Sean McVay said he's not too worried about it. He should be healthy in the coming weeks, but it's scary. Malcolm Brown showed. I mean, he's not ultra capable, but again, with that offense, like we saw, they can make anyone fantasy relevant. So I'm not too worried about Todd Gurley. But if you have a burner spot, if you have a wide receiver that you're really not going to start anyways, throw Malcolm Brown on your roster, and so at least if Gurley is seriously hurt, then you're fine. You'll be okay.
Yeah. OJ Howard from the Buccaneers, tight end for the Buccaneers, is placed on injured reserve. Marky, you excited for Cameron Brate, or are you staying away?
I like Brate, and so does Jameis Winston. So I think he's still going to have a really reliable tight end. Personally, it stinks to see OJ Howard out because I think he's probably one of the best athletes on that team. He's an amazing player. And when we talk about great tight ends, Howard is still so young and fresh in the league. Gronk is a veteran, and he is, as you said, the greatest. But I think OJ has potential to become the greatest, and I think it's good that it's not a definitive season-ending injury. I don't think it was really worded that way by the coaching staff. I think it was more we're going to give OJ the rest of the season to make sure that when we come back next year, the NFC South is going to be more relevant for the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm. Green Eggs and Carr takes on Marky's boys this week. Lando, are you going to be putting in AJ Green to your lineup with that toe injury?
I will not be putting in AJ Green.
Wow, you got to change your team name then. Down with the ship, pal.
He's gonna come with me to the championship. That's more than you can say.
Oh, wow. That's a little bit too soon. Okay. There's still an outside chance. What
happened last week? I thought you were set for a championship run. Anything happen in particular?
I have more points than the fourth place team, who has 4 more wins than me. Like this league. Don't even get me started.
You lost to a better team last week.
Yeah, I did.
And you need to just admit that.
Yeah,
let's not discount the fact that between 4 players, I had a small little box of Timbits to show for their output.
Allen Robinson.
I think a real fantasy owner is judged by their humility and not their win record. So I'm just not going to say anything.
You have a lot of humility then, Mark.
Right. And humiliating stories.
Is Jimmy Graham going to play for the Packers?
I think he is. I heard he is. He practiced in full with a broken thumb.
Is a thumb not an integral part of the catching process? Like, don't you need it to squeeze the ball?
He doesn't get targets, so does it really matter?
Right. So what you're saying is he'll be really, really good at blocking with that club.
That's right. He's going to be the
Gloved
difference
arm.
maker.
His catch percentage will not change.
Yeah, it'll still be 0. I think if Jimmy Graham plays, he's not going to be playing for me on my rosters.
No, can't play.
Is that the consensus here?
Well, he's just underwhelming this year. Love the player.
Don't get me started.
And just cannot seem to find the groove.
Love the player. Love the offense. Love the quarterback he gets it from. It's just not connecting.
I love how tall he is. Does that count? That's about it.
Yeah. I love how, I don't know. Lamar Jackson
How tall
is
he?
the
In
guy
centimeters.
in centimeters. I don't know.
Didn't think you knew. That's right.
Do you know? Can you give me those numbers?
300.
Is that just a ballpark number?
He's 3 meters tall.
Lamar Jackson is set to start for the Baltimore Ravens. Some people thought it might be RG3, but it looks like it's going to be Lamar. Good question here is, would you play him as a stream, a deep stream? And what do you think his floor is? You think he's a safe play because of his legs, or do you think it's too risky for your blood?
I'm a big Lamar guy. I am starting him. I am streaming him. I think his legs give you a great baseline for his points. Last week, he didn't throw 1 touchdown, didn't rush for 1 touchdown. Those numbers have to go up. He is an athletic freak. I wish he threw a little bit more and didn't look for the run first, but last week I said I loved the Baltimore running back, Alex Collins. I was a little bit off. The Gus bus.
Yeah, Gus Edwards was the name you were looking for.
Gus Edwards was the name I was looking for. But yeah, he killed it. I'm absolutely streaming Lamar Jackson.
I mean, 117 yards rushing is unbelievable for a quarterback. But he had what, 20 attempts rushing?
Well, I think when you take a player like that who is clearly a role player for the first 11 weeks of the season, when he takes snaps in game, he's going to be running the ball. And that is a great thing to have when Flacco's the starting quarterback. But now they're trying to integrate so much of Flacco's game into Lamar's game. So, yeah, the first week may have seemed like a completely different offense, but I think it's kind of meant to be. He runs really well. I think we're probably going to look to see a little more passing tomorrow about over that Oakland defense. And I really like Lamar. He just hasn't seemed like the most confident passer, but I'm sure they've been working on that like crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's look to the slate of Thursday games. We'll call it the Turkey Day recap. We had Chicago and Detroit playing, Washington, Dallas, and Atlanta, New Orleans for the night game. Lando, give us your one takeaway from the Chicago-Detroit game.
Jordan Howard is a bust.
Oh, wow.
Taylor Gabriel was hyper-targeted. He looked really great. And Tariq Cohen was used also very well. Targeted quite a bit. He looked like the same guy. He made some moves in space. Chicago looks like the real deal. Their defense is amazing. And Detroit is the same team that traded away Golden Tate. So, but Kenny Golladay is still huge, and he's looking actually for yards after catch. And I really like Kenny Golladay if you have him.
I like it.
Even in a tough matchup, he's good.
I'm gonna go for the crazy afternoon game, which, I mean, I thought that Dallas would win this game, but not by the margin that they did. 31-10, basically a garbage time score at the end of the game brings it a little bit closer, but Dallas was just dominant in this game. And the player that really stood out, which I did not forecast having a game like this, especially with Dak Prescott as his quarterback, but Amari Cooper, 9 targets, 8 receptions, 180 yards receiving, and 2 touchdowns. If you played Amari Cooper, that's a week winning performance in itself right there. So he really, really impressed me. You hate to see a guy like Adrian Peterson go down after the season that he's been having Do we know the injury report on him?
He came back into the game, but he just wasn't very
Adrian Peterson
that
like.
much.
Yeah. AP like. Yeah, so I mean the big takeaway for me in that game is Amari Cooper maybe developing a little bit more trust, a little bit more chemistry with Dak, a little bit, just seeing more volume. But yeah, like 180 yards, man. That's what Cooper does. Like he flashes. The question is going forward, can he keep it up? So he's really the biggest boom or bust play right now, probably in fantasy football.
Really well balanced offense from Dallas against what is a pretty well rounded Washington defense that day.
How about John Gruden trading away Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper? Must be feeling great right now.
Well, I mean, a week after he traded away Khalil Mack, he comes out to a reporter and goes, "Yeah, pass rushers are really tough to find in this league." Yeah, you just traded away the best one.
Marky, give us your take on the Atlanta and New Orleans game.
If you're a fantasy player and you have Saints on your team, none of them got any points for you. Or well,
Drew Brees did.
Touchdowns, I should say. Drew Brees, he had an excellent looking game. Atlanta is struggling just as awfully in the secondary, and it looked very easy for Brees to find his targets, who were Tommy Lee Lewis and
Austin Carr,
Riff Raff Austin, yeah. So
Kirkwood
had Ingram, Kamara, and Thomas, and we're looking for big names from them. It didn't happen. Didn't find pay dirt. But yeah, it right now it's looking so easy for the Saints, and it is looking to be a struggle for those Falcons, especially in pass defense.
Yeah, Kamara didn't really hurt you all too much. He was 14 for 89, so typical carry numbers for him.
But only one reception, which is weird.
Yeah, you usually see him more involved in the pass game, and Kamara wasn't involved in the passing game. Neither was Michael Thomas to the extent that you obviously wanted. Mark Ingram had a dud game too, but this is what good quarterbacks do when they need to. They find whoever it might be, like you said, Kirkwood, Lewis, Austin Carr. They find who they need to win the game. Their defense is trending. But I think you need to move forward with these players and don't think too much into it.
I don't think you overreact into this. You're still going to start your studs in New Orleans. It just shows how good Drew Brees is, and he can get anyone the football. Doesn't really matter. He was throwing at first-year rookies, guys with no chemistry, but he still managed to get it done. It doesn't really matter. It's a Tom Brady, it's an Aaron Rodgers kind of move where as long as the guy's catching the ball, it doesn't matter.
It is what it is with the Saints, but they are rolling.
Marching.
That's a good way to put it. Okay, we're going to go into the weekly matchups here. What do you want to start with, boys? 1:00 games. You want to go, you want to start really greasy? New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the Giants are on the road. They are in Philadelphia as 5-point underdogs. This is a 47-point over/under. Giants coming in at 3-7, picking up some momentum, and Philadelphia continuing to struggle at 4-6. Let's start with the Giants because they are on the up and up. Guys that you are willing to start. Last week in a league, I actually streamed Eli. Didn't feel good about it, but it ended up working out for me. So, quick question here. Would you rather start Eli Manning or Carson Wentz?
That's tough. That is tough. Carson Wentz just let you down so mightily last week. You don't feel comfortable starting him, but I would, I'm actually probably rolling out Eli just based on his weapons.
Marky?
I agree.
Yeah?
I think Eli just in OBJ, like he has such a reliable target there that I think Wentz does not really have, except Ertz. So to me, I just think the confidence that I have in OBJ, an auto start, obviously in every single league every week. I would put my money on Eli, and that whole division right there, the NFC East is just abysmal right now, record wise. Like, I don't really know what's going to happen with them, but it seems like the Cowboys are kind of running away with it now that the Redskins lost their QB. But yeah, this one, I don't know. I'm thinking Eli over Carson.
Is this a Sterling Shepard week start? Yes or no?
Yes. The Eagles are a little bit banged up at the cornerback position. I would probably have a lot of confidence in Shepard as well as OBJ.
Yeah, because we've seen Shepard flash, especially when OBJ gets a lot of attention from the secondary. It opens up holes elsewhere, and Shepard's been a guy that stepped up and had big games. So, is this the perfect little narrative for him here where he can have a big week? I don't know. I'm going to say that if I have Shepard, it might be a flex consideration.
And the real question, what about Evan Ingram? He was such a good tight end last year, and he just hasn't really been consistent. It's always been late in games. He's been my start of the week a couple times, and he probably hasn't hurt you too much based on how bad tight ends are. But you probably start him in this kind of game. You hope just because of the secondary of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how poor the tight end position is, Evan Ingram is a top 10 option. We talked about him at length in the offseason with Saquon Barkley coming in, with Beckham Jr. and Sterling Shepard probably taking steps forward. You would hope that there would just be less volume for Evan Ingram. And the Giants, without Odell Beckham Jr. and Sterling Shepard for a large part of last season, as well as no running game, they really leaned on Evan Ingram to carry the load last year. So you had inflation from him. So that's not his role. That's not his job right now with this offense, and they're not really using him out of necessity. He's a part of the offense, not the offense. So if you have Evan Ingram, you got to start him, but he's not going to give you what he gave you last year, and I don't think that should be the expectation for him either.
On the Philadelphia side of the ball, as we explained, Carson Wentz is hard to start. So where do you go from there? I mean, you start Zach Ertz, auto start, no doubt. I know he let you down last week, but you can't not start him. But is there anyone else? Josh Adams is the new running back there, maybe, but they have two other decent ones. That depends who pops. Their wide receiving core is mediocre at best. Can you rely on Alshon? And then Carson Wentz.
I don't know if I'd go mediocre. Mark, what do you think? I think when you look at Tate, Jeffrey, Aguilar, those guys are very capable receivers. It's just, they all work in very conflicting areas of the field. So they're probably running routes right now that they're not used to running. So that it's going to take some time for this offense to really start clicking.
I think it's. I think when they picked up Golden Tate, that was a bit of a statement that they're not that confident in their running game, and the ball's got to go somewhere. But last week, Wentz didn't look overly confident, and he just kind of fizzled away. So I think that they might even have a different game plan here to see more risk plays, high risk, high reward type action. But you just want to see Wentz kind of heat up a little more if those guys are going to get into the end zone. I would have a lot of trouble starting someone like Aguilar. I think Tate would be a little safer, just as far as numbers this year. But yeah, it's a bit of a difficult offense to analyze just because they're not going to be known for their running game.
Yeah, the only guy that I'm really willing to start in this matchup with any confidence is Zach Ertz. I own him in 5 of 6 leagues. So having him this year has been great until last week when he, duds you in almost all of your leagues. But I'm going to continue to roll out the number 1 tight end in football. And Alshon Jeffrey is probably the next safest option for me personally. But, I think this is a game where the Giants continue to roll and they pick up another W on the road. What do you guys think?
Yeah, last time these two teams faced, the Eagles won 34-13. I think it's going to be closer than that.
I would hope so.
The Giants are going to put up a fight. Should be a fun game to watch. It's I I would take the over on the 47.5. I think the Eagles come back and actually win this game.
So you're going Eagles.
Yeah, I'll go Eagles.
Mark, this is why we brought you in. You're the tiebreaker. Giants or Eagles?
I'm going with the Eagles. Or, sorry, my bad. I'm going with the Giants. I like their momentum right now.
It's a smart move to make a new friend. Good call. All right, we're gonna pivot
down.
Yeah, I know. You've had Landon since like you guys were 4. We're going to go pivot. Seattle Seahawks on the road to the Carolina Panthers. This is a 46.5 point over under. The Carolina Panthers are favored by 3, so you take away home field advantage. This is basically a pick'em game. The Seattle Seahawks 5-5, just getting crushed in that division by the Rams, which is very new in terms of historical data. But Carolina Panthers 6-4, struggling to keep up with the Saints. Both of these teams being dwarfed by their fellow division mates. But if we look to the last matchup these guys had, 40-7. This was December 4th of 2016. Seattle crushed the Panthers. Are we going to see the same thing this time, or is it going to be a different outcome?
I think the Panthers are a better team. I think Cam Newton is playing better right now than Russell Wilson. He's got more weapons. They have a fairly complete team, in my opinion. Balanced running and passing, and Cam Newton's just more of a threat. They've got a great young wide receiver in DJ Moore. We'll see if he actually supplanted Devin Funchess as the number 1 wide receiver. But they have Olsen back, who I think he only caught 1 pass for 1 touchdown last week. But you're going to start Olsen just based on tight ends. And yeah, I think Carolina actually wins this game. What do you think on the Seattle side, guys?
Well, I think we should go in and say, let's just get rid of the obvious must-starts. Russell Wilson, I think, will have a great game. Start. Cam, start. I think Chris Carson, you've got to start. McCaffrey, you've got to start. But let's look to the wide receiver position. Do you start DJ Moore, even though he probably is the number 1 option? Do you start him?
I'm beginning to like DJ Moore a lot. He really shows what he can do with the ball after he catches it, and I think he really plays into Cam's favor. Like all of Cam's footwork is just accentuated by a receiver who can find himself an opening and then run, cut across the field and turn it into a score. Mm-hmm. I think he looked amazing last week with a big breakout game. But then Funchess, however, has just been decreasing his value and dropping a lot of balls, aside from getting hurt. So I do like DJ Moore. And then you look at that. You're right, Landon. There are a lot more weapons on Carolina, but I love this Seahawks running game. Chris Carson, he's a great runner, and I love how much they get the ball around. So they're 2 different offenses. I think it's going to be a tighter game. I think it's not close to the spread, but I'm thinking it's going to be like Carolina 27-23.
Is it, in the complimentary piece to Chris Carson, is it Rashad Penny or Mike Davis?
Penny took a long time to get going. But
is that because he's a little overweight, or?
That's right. Yeah. That guy definitely changed.
He's got Eddie Lacy syndrome, I think.
Yeah.
If we stick with the Seattle side of the ball and we look at their wide receiver position, heading into this week, last week we saw Doug Baldwin, a little bit of an uptick in performance. But if you had to choose between Doug Baldwin or Tyler Lockett this week as a start, who would you be leaning on?
I think Doug Baldwin took a step forward last week. He saw the targets. He had a touchdown, and I think he could be a pretty good second half player. That's kind of what we've been waiting for. Him and Russell Wilson are typically a second half breakout candidate, especially when the Seahawks are 5-5. They still have a chance at a playoff. That's what we wanted from the Giants, to go on a little winning streak, to to give them hope, and that's what Seattle still has. Their defense is playing better than I expected, and I think it's Doug Baldwin, although Tyler Lockett has been the guy first half of the season. But I think Markey has a different opinion.
I would probably have a lot more confidence in Lockett just because he was so reliable in the first half of the season.
Yeah, he caught first 7 weeks he had 6 touchdowns, six games out of 7 caught a touchdown.
Oh, beautiful numbers. But then Baldwin at this point, is he gonna become that go-to in the end zone? Kind of hard to say. I don't know if this is really going to be the game where they prove it either, because Seattle has become such a run-heavy offense, which I love, because you don't see it. You don't see a ton of run-heavy offenses, and right now Pete Carroll's saying that the Seattle Seahawks are healthier than ever. So I think by playing to their strengths, they're going to keep the ball on the ground more often than throwing it. I
like it. I'm going to go with Seattle Seahawks going to pull off the upset here. I think they are sneaky, especially if we look back to that Rams game. We said divisional game. It's probably going to be closer than you think. The Seattle Seahawks can show up to play. I'm going to go with Seattle Seahawks for the upset. I think both of you are on the Carolina side, though.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Let's go through this one quickly. Pats on the road playing the Jets. We know that the Patriots historically get the better end of the New York Jets. This is a 47.5 point over under. Pats favored by 10. Patriots are 7-3. Jets opposite 3-7. Gronkowski back. Tom Brady ill. I think if they are both going to start, you start them. On the New England side of the ball, you starting Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon. Are those starts for you guys? 100%.
Edelman's definitely a start for me. I think he's going to have a big game. I don't have Josh Gordon anywhere, but if I do, I will flex him based on just touchdown upside. That's all.
And running back position, Sony Michel set to be back playing. Is this a Sony Michel rollout with confidence, or what do you guys think?
I think James White is probably the guy to go with over Sony Michel.
Now, interestingly enough, next week it's trending that Rex Burkhead could be back in this backfield.
Let's go, Rexy! Come on,
yes,
let's get back.
Sexy Rexy. He might be back. He might be back.
I agree with Mark.
This is the point in the season when the Patriots almost play kind of angry football. And to me, I think one of the most reliable things they can do is to give the ball to James White. That's what they've done in the past in playoffs, especially. And right now is a very important stage for them to make that November push. So by getting the ball to James White, I think they're really going to have kind of a statement game here. And they're going to put up a ton of points. I think they're going to win by 24 points.
Based on that, is there anyone from the Jets that you start?
Good Lord.
Well, we got? They have virtually no deep threats. Robbie Anderson out. And
Darnold making the return. No, I think he's going to play.
Well, I believe.
I think he's going to play.
He is going to play. Okay.
Either way.
Yeah, I'm not starting Darnold. Yeah, I'm not starting Anderson. I mean, I think if you were in a deeper league, you could potentially play Isaiah Crowell, but I don't love it.
Elijah McGuire might be back even, so he might be a sneaky stash. But either way, like if they're eating into each other's workload,
I'm staying away. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cardinals Chargers. We got the Cardinals on the road playing the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are a 13-point favorite. That is large. 44-point over-under. It's a little bit lower. Cardinals are 2-8. Chargers are 7-3. Lost a heartbreaker last week to Denver. Should potentially be 8-2. Who do you like on the Chargers side? Because this is the side that I'm sticking with.
Now, Melvin Gordon and Tyrell are on their injury report, but I'm not too concerned with them. You're going to start Rivers. You're going to start Keenan. The other guys, and Melvin Gordon, obviously, if he plays. The other guys are what's tough. The Tyrell, the Mike Williams, Antonio Gates, who had a great game last week. I'm kind of staying away, I think, even though it's not really a super high over-under. The implied point total for the Chargers is a little bit more, obviously, than the Cardinals, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to look at the Chargers offense. There were some errant throws last week that were picked off, which was not characteristic for Rivers. I think he's going to come back and have like a redemption performance here. But then when you talk about the receiving core, you never really know who he's going to favor. So it is a bit of a dice roll. I think Tyrell Williams has proven himself as someone who gets open deep. So I would probably play Keenan as a definite start.
Keenan's going to avoid a lot of Patrick Peterson coverage being in the slot. When he goes to the outside, he'll see it. But Tyrell, if he plays, we've seen him have big games, could be a boomer bust play. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to stick with just Keenan and Melvin. If Melvin doesn't play, Austin Eckler is an absolute must start, I think,
Yeah. And the Cardinals are a team we don't talk too much
Their
about.
defense isn't bad.
So it's nice. It's nice to get them on the slate. Obviously, you're going to start DJ. But the real question is, Christian Kirk saw a great amount of targets last week, and Larry Fitzgerald is just the guy that keeps on trucking. He's a start where the problem is he's a better starter at home. So starting him on the road is not necessarily recommended. I think that's kind of a stay away. Do you flex either one of these guys?
I would go Larry Fitzgerald, obviously, over Christian Kirk. I don't mind the take, where Kirk has had an uptick in targets. But when you look at Josh Rosen, not the strongest fantasy play. I wouldn't consider streaming him. This is going to be probably a run-heavy plan to start the game, but they're going to be down and they're going to be chasing. It's going to force them to throw the ball. And actually, just flashing back over to the Chargers side, I really like their defense this week. If you have them, you can pick them up. I really love this Chargers play this week.
So you would take the Chargers with the points?
I would take the Chargers with the points. Yeah, I was saying that if I could play their DST, that I would be all over it. Yeah.
Yep.
Mark, what about you? You going Kirk or Larry?
I don't think I have enough confidence in Rosen to play anyone besides DJ. I think DJ is going to touch it like 35 times. But you're right. That is going to be I think that's going to be a game where Los Angeles takes an early lead and it forces Arizona into catch-up mode, which for them has not been a lucrative game.
So you're going with Chargers with the points? Yeah. I think
Big
this
time.
one could be an absolute decimation of the Cardinals. Let's skip ahead to the Sunday nighter. We got the Green Bay Packers on the road playing the Minnesota Vikings in the beautiful dome. What do you guys think, man? The last time these guys played in the beginning of the week, it was a tie, 29-29. Packers are coming in 4-5-1. Vikes 5-4-1, both chasing the Chicago Bears, which is crazy to think. The over-under in this one is high. It's 54. Vikings favored by 3. Home field advantage. I know you guys are both Vikings-ish fans. Let's start with them. Kirk Cousins, you rolling him out with confidence, or are you a little bit hesitant in what you've seen this year?
He has been a very impressive quarterback. It's funny that offense is. I thought it was going to be such an upgrade with Cousins coming in at the helm. Last year was a super good year for them with Keenum at the helm, and I thought things could only get better. But then we're just not seeing that reflected in their win record. He had a bit of a cold week last week, but I still have a ton of confidence in Cousins. I think he's going to put up maybe a couple touchdowns here this week and have a bit more of a redemption performance. It's a rivalry game in the most exciting rivalry in football.
It's got a lengthy history to it, that's for sure. Adam Thielen is a must start, but Landon, what about Stephon Diggs?
I would definitely start Stephon Diggs. I know you have confidence in the Green Bay secondary, but I am not scared of that defense whatsoever. Stephon Diggs showed that he's an absolute target. And he's a touchdown and red zone guy. A guy like Rudolph has not been what we've hoped from him this year. Not Kirk Cousins, although he's historically likes his tight end, and maybe it was just because that Jordan Reed was his only option. Whereas now he's got his two elite wide receivers. Arguably, I know they haven't really showed it this year, but they're one of the best duos in the league. So they've been forced to throw a lot more this year. I think the Packers make them throw just as much. It should be a great game. The Vikings defense have not been very good. I actually got the over-under wrong. It is a 47.5. So I would still take the over. I think that 54 point is attainable by these two teams. So the pass catchers you have to start. Kirk Cousins, I think this matchup should give you enough confidence to start him. It should be a Wentz scenario where last week it was tough, but you got to stick with your guy. Unless you have an elite streamer, you got to stick with Kirk Cousins. I'm not afraid to start him this week. The real question for me is that running game. Is Dalvin Cook going to do anything? I'm not ultra confident in Dalvin Cook this year. I thought he was going to be a breakout guy showing his speed a couple weeks ago. But, Mac, do you start Dalvin or do you just kind of pivot and go somewhere else?
Personally, I wouldn't. I think I would find another option. If you look at last week, this is the week you thought Dalvin Cook was going to jump out and take command of that backfield. But, it just another sort of underwhelming performance from Dalvin Cook. So, I don't know. The Packers have been pretty good against the run, actually. They're in the top half of defenses against the run. They struggle against the pass. That's pretty much what we've seen. So I would say that, Dalvin Cook probably not going to be on my teams. I don't have any shares of him, so I don't have to go through this decision. But I feel like if you have Dalvin Cook, you have to start him, right? Like, who would you start over Dalvin Cook? It's tough.
I mean, let me get you some options here, Mac. Would you start?
Like, would you start Gus if you just picked up Gus Edwards off the waiver wire? Would you start Gus Edwards against Oakland over Dalvin Cook against the Packers?
Probably.
You go Gus.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that run. I was expecting the Vikings to have one of the best running back cores in the league this year, just kind of to build on what was last year's momentum, but it's not happening for them. So I don't know.
What about Austin Eckler? Austin Eckler over Dalvin in a game where they should be up by a ton over the Cardinals. Like, Austin Eckler could potentially get work by the end of the third quarter.
I'm not confident in that. I'm going to give Dalvin Cook that work.
Okay.
I still think it's going to be Melvin Gordon. I still have fear, like Dalvin Cook. I don't know. He still has that potential, right, to be that guy.
This is actually your soft spot.
It's a little bit my soft spot. Well, it's because it's my home team.
I know,
It's my team. The Vikings are a soft spot for me. I would start Aaron Jones definitely over Dalvin Cook in the same matchup.
Okay.
Guys, and maybe like Matt Breida and Marlon Mack, both in good matchups. Maybe start them over.
Ooh, I like Marlon Mack.
Yeah, both guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
I would start
Marlon Mack, yes.
Nick Chubb's an auto start for me. There's a lot of studs that are up there, but he's a wider or running back 2-3 for me this week.
Yeah.
Talk about the Green Bay Packers real quick, Mac, and then we'll get to our starts of the week.
Sure. Aaron Rodgers,
they're bad.
Gotta start him. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers start. Aaron Jones start. Devontae Adams start. When you look to their tertiary pieces like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, aka MVS. For me, he's a guy that I look to this week. I know he had a dud game last week, hurt you, but I do have confidence in him probably more than other people do. I just think when you look at him athletically, he can certainly get the job done. He's a big man with a lot of talent. It's just, can him and Rodgers connect in the right times of the game, and can he establish some momentum early? If he does, I think he'll have a great game. If he kind of disappears, like we saw last week, and he really burned you like 1.3 points, it sucks. But in a game where they'll probably need to use a lot of pieces to win and to compete, I think MVS will have to step up and be part of that offense. So I would probably flex MVS.
It's kind of weird, Mac. You're finally jumping on the MVS bandwagon. Like, what's this? You've never mentioned the guy before.
He's like Cortland Sutton for me.
This guy loves MVS.
Yeah. How do you not love MVS?
A player.
It's I want to asking a quick wide receiver start for a friend. If you had Julian Edelman, Stephon Diggs, T.Y. Hilton, or Keenan Allen, who would you start out of the 4? You need to start 2.
Holy, they're all good starts.
Allen, Diggs, Hilton.
Do you, as a Packers fan, really want to start Diggsy, hoping that he doesn't score? But if he does, you're still happy. If he gets the winning touchdown for the Vikings, are you going to be conflicted?
I don't think I have a choice either way. Like I can't change the outcome of the game. I'm just saying, like, do you think Stephon Diggs will have a bigger game than T.Y. Hilton or Keenan Allen? Because that's currently the 2 guys I would start out of the list.
I think Keenan Allen's going to be the number 1. And then I love Hilton just because that Colts offense is pretty insane.
And they play in Miami.
And surprising. And
yeah.
And I think, like, right now, my start of the week QB wise is Andrew Luck. That guy is having a remarkable season and just refuses to get sacked. That line is playing.
Yeah, 5 straight games, no sacks. Okay.
I would say the only thing that the Vikings have for them, and I probably agree with Mark, that those are the 2 starts, is that this game is going to be closer. And I think they're going to have to throw the ball more. And hopefully the points need to go up rather than... But I mean, Indy's defense has been decent. Miami could put up points. I just don't see them putting up as many points as the Packers.
Okay. Winner of this game.
But yeah, I think
winner of this game. You guys gonna stick with the Vikings?
Oh, Vikings win.
Mark, this is a time to make a friend.
I think it's not super easy to play in that Excel Center. I think in the Vikings new stadium there. Not easy to play those guys at home. I think the Vikings are going to win it by 3.
I'm going to go with the Packers here.
Shocker.
Yeah, massive surprise on that one. All right, we're going to jump into our starts of the week here, and I'm going to kick things off at the quarterback position, rolling out famous Jameis Winston.
Wait, he's starting for the Bucks?
You're damn right he is.
Are you for the whole game?
The agreement is he's going to play 22 minutes, and then right after that, that's when he's going to stick in Fitzpatrick. But I think Fitzpatrick is going to be wearing a Winston jersey. And it's just a trick play.
When you look at Tampa Bay and their quarterbacks on the year, if you combine Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jameis Winston, their starts, they're like quarterback 3 on the year.
So can you start both? Like, could you actually play Winston and Fitz?
They should allow that. They really should. You get the whole quarterback tree.
I'd play
Jameis Winston. Yeah, I like Jameis Winston coming back, taking his job back. Time to make a statement. The matchup is not bad. They got the 49ers. The Bucs are actually favored in this game, which is crazy. 2.5 points. So I'm going to go with Jameis Winston to have a bounce back game, secure his job, cement that position, and bye-bye to Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's been pretty good for that Bucs team, taking over for Jameis, but 17 touchdowns, 12 picks through 7 starts. It's time for Jameis to take over.
I will lead off with my start of the week at quarterback, and it's not a guy that has been putting up big numbers what you expect, but I am going with Carson Wentz for a bounce back week. I don't feel great about it, but they play the Giants. Hopefully they're passing the ball a lot more. Hopefully the chemistry between Golden Tate and Carson Wentz improves. And I think if you drafted Carson Wentz, I know he let you down. If you managed to win last week, just keep him going. If you're gonna set him and drop him, I don't blame you, but you gotta stay confident with that. I'm gonna watch that game intently and see what happens. But Carson Wentz is my start of the week. He's gonna put up 25 points. Three touchdowns, 259 yards.
Bold
Altered
take.
Carson, they call him.
Mark, you already said that you are going with Andrew Luck. We talked about how 5 straight games he refuses to get sacked. Any other reasons other than this Colts offense clicking that you would want to start Andy Luck this week?
No. I already said all my reasons.
Their offensive line is blocking incredibly. You're right. He hasn't been sacked in
it's 23 games. Straight quarters.
Yeah, crazy.
23. Mark, why don't you kick off the running back position with a guy that I think we're all pretty excited about this week?
Chris Altered Carson. Sorry, I had to use it again.
Did you just watch Altered Carbon on Netflix or something?
I did, yes. That's what we're talking about, right? So like I said, they too are a team that is on the upswing and are looking really good. The offensive line is playing super good football right now. I know that Chris Carson does have to share the ball with a couple other running backs, but he is their number one choice. And I really hope he brings home 100 yards and a touchdown this week.
I like it. And so because I went pretty low and pretty deep for my quarterback, I'm going to give the obvious choice of Nick Chubb as my start of the week. He has taken that backfield and is going to run with it. And as a rule of thumb, I just start any running back against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have been slipping and sliding without AJ Green, and I don't see it changing this week. Nick Chubb's a great auto start for me this week. He looks awesome. I know it's obvious, but start him with confidence. Start him in DFS wherever you can.
Yeah, that's a nice one. The Browns are just a different team when they're at home versus on the road. So my running back start of the week is going to be Marlon Mack from the Indianapolis Colts. When you look at Mack, you had to wait for him to come back this year. And when he did return, it was into a cluttered backfield with 2 capable rookies in Naheem Hines and Jordan Wilkins. But he certainly made his way. The last couple weeks, he has been absolute fire, 17 touches per game for the last 5 weeks. And if you've held out and been patient for Marlon Mack, he is certainly paying off for you. I expect the hot hand to continue, especially going into this week with a nice matchup.
So over the last 5 games, Mack has been sensational. What do you think he averaged in points, fantasy points, over the last 5 weeks?
Last 5 weeks, probably in the 15 range.
17.
17.
Wow. That guy is playing great right now.
And he's getting that
and you
work.
just got to stay with the hot hand. Yeah.
A couple
wide receiver position. Marky, kick it.
DJ Moore.
Ooh, DJ Moore.
That guy makes plays, and he is clearly a big ad right now. He's being touted as a more reliable target than Funchess, and he doesn't really drop the ball. So I really like him.
That was a foregone conclusion in the offseason. We were just waiting for it to come true.
He's more reliable.
Oh, wow. Cheeky. Cheeky pun.
And
Landon, you going with Cortland Sutton for the wide receiver start of the week?
I will not go Cortland Sutton. I will save our listeners. They already know to start him. Just that's too obvious. So I'm going to go ultra obvious. I already talked about him a little bit earlier this episode. I'm going Julian Edelman. Like we said, the Patriots are a November to December team. They're gonna destroy the New York Jets, and I think it's actually gonna be a little bit closer than we think. The Jets always play them hard, but with what offenses are doing right now in the NFL, I think the Patriots do need to have a statement piece, and Julian Edelman he's just Tom Brady's safety blanket. He's going to get the red zone looks. He's going to get a ton of catches. If you play in any point per reception league, I think Edelman is the safest play you could have. And yeah, start Julian Edelman with confidence.
I'm going with a guy that has struggled lately, had a hot start to the season, but things have changed since Demaryius Thomas left. It's been Emmanuel Sanders and Cortland Sutton. And, contrary to Landon's weekly start of the week in Cortland Sutton, I'm going to go the opposite end. Manny Sanders gets back on track this week, has a bigger game, establishes that number one role for the Denver Broncos, who so desperately need a big performance from somebody on that team other than Phillip Lindsay. I'm going to go with Manny Sanders.
Cool.
And I might as well just stick... Sorry, go ahead.
Stick with the Broncos, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Broncos and roll out this week at the tight end position. Jeff Hoyerman. I really like what I'm seeing out of Hoyerman lately. Keenum has targeted him more, coming off an 11-target, 10-reception game in Week 9 against the Houston Texans. 83 yards and a score. Becoming a little bit more involved in the offense. I like his chances this week in a good matchup. So I'm going to go Jeff Hoyerman against the Steelers.
And because I got to the dock first, I got to pick the best streamer tight end of the week, and that is Cameron Brate. Like we talked about earlier, with O.J. Howard going down, we know the chemistry between Winston and Brate, and it's a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. This is the locked and loaded.
100% guaranteed.
Yeah, boom, tight end of the week. He's going to be a chalk play in DFS lineups, and I think if you picked him up on waivers, start him with confidence.
Yeah, this was my tight end start of the week, and when I jumped in and saw you had already plugged him in, I was a little bit disappointed, so I had to look elsewhere, but I'll upvote your Cameron Brate start of the week.
I think in the tight end position myself, I like Jared Cook because I think he's the only player capable of making a big play on the Oakland offense. Yes, they're going up against a tough defense, and I'm not sure how interested the Raiders are in winning games right now, but I think I'm going to throw them a bone and say, if anyone's making a play on that offense, it's Jared Cook.
I like that. Jared Cook, man, someone's got to get it done for that Raiders offense. All right, boys, are we looking at a little DraftKings showdown here?
Did you figure out who won last week, Mac? I can give you my point total here if I can find it.
Yeah, I'll look back to my history here for my lineups. Just got to find the right one.
Oh God, I can't imagine the atrocities that are in your browser history.
Okay, I've got mine.
So I was did I start Prescott last week? Hey, who did I play? Mariota? Did I start Mariota?
You had the Eli Manning, Odell Beckham Jr. stack.
Oh. Right. I had Odell Beckham Jr., Curtis Samuel.
That's the one.
Samuel had a good week. So I had 139.44.
153. Still undefeated DFS champion of the podcast.
It was Zach Ertz, man. Zach Ertz killed me.
Yeah, true, because you spent up for him. Yeah, I had 153.
Yeah.
Won a little bit of cash, but nothing great last week. we are going to do a DraftKings, I guess, 1v1v1, 3-man contest. We can't pick the same players. Snake-style draft. The order is going to be Mark, because he's the newcomer to the pod. Landon's going to go second because I went first last week, and I'll take the caboose, I guess you could say. So I'll take the back end.
But it's a turn pick. That's not bad.
Turn picks are nice. And you don't have to follow any sort of, format. You don't have to stick at the quarterback position to start. You can fly all over the place and go a tight end, then a defense, and Landon can go quarterback, wide receiver. It doesn't matter about order. So, Mark, we'll give you first pick. You've got $50,000 to pick your 9 players, and we can't pick the same players. So once they're gone, they are gone.
Okay, I'm going to go quarterback and take Jay Winston.
Oh, nasty play.
That's a good call. So I'm going to go with the running back to start.
Okay.
I've got a few options up here. I'm going to go cheap at running back this week. I'm going to go with my start of the week with Nick Chubb.
Wow, Nick Chubb. What is he going for, Landon? $6,300? Okay. I'm going to go with my start of the week, Marlon Mack at 55. A little bit of a value play.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I get the turn, correct?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna scroll through to the tight end position, and I'm gonna find Cameron Brate at $3,600 and break both of your hearts. That's why you gotta love a turn pick right there. Value, my friend.
I'm gonna go with another cheap running back. I'm gonna go with the Gus Edwards at 4,400.
Hit him low.
I'm taking a cheapish running back, Philip Lindsay at 46.
I like that. It's a good play.
Mark, you get another pick.
Okay. Let's see. I think I'm going to take Ravens defense at 50.
Okay. All right, spending up with the defense. I'm going to go with the tight end, but I want Marky to take him. I'm going to go Jack Doyle at...
You're going baby hands?
Baby hands, Jack Doyle.
I'm going to follow Mark, actually, on the defensive play here. I'm going to go Chargers D, $3,400. And I think I should get into the wide receiver game. Oh, man. Beckham Jr. at the top of the slate, $8,800 is tempting. Keenan Allen was okay for me last week. But am I going to stack up the Colts this week? Holy. Okay, I usually don't go with the stud play first. No, changing my mind. T.Y. Hilton, $6,500.
You are going to do that. I thought you might. I'm going to go deep at the defense, of the team defense. I'm going to hope famous Jameis throws pick. I'm going San Francisco defense, 2,300. So it's a boom play. I don't know. It's going to be tough.
I like what you're doing there.
I'm going to take the wide receiver position. I'm going to take Tyler Boyd.
I looked at him. I really wanted to pull the trigger on that, but I just couldn't do it.
Okay, so that's the turn pick again. I'm going to spend up a little bit and take Zach Ertz at tight end.
Ooh. That was Landon's strategy last week.
All across the board now.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that pick. I got to figure out where I'm going at wide receiver.
It's...
I can get one stud, or I can get a couple studs maybe in here, but geez. We could go Keenan Allen. We can go Julian Edelman. Edelman's my start. I'll go Julian Edelman, $7,000. My start of the week again.
Okay. I think it makes sense for me having Mac and Hilton on my team that I should go with Andrew Luck at the quarterback position. So even though I don't like spending that much money on a quarterback, I think it makes sense. I got to stack them up. So
I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Luck at quarterback, and I'm going to go deep into the wide receiver game. I like to go, at least in these contests, the GPPs, the Grand Prize Pool tournament plays. I like to go with one flyer wide receiver. Last week I went with Seth Roberts at $3,000. He wasn't terrible. You went with who'd you go with? Curtis Samuels, who ended up catching a touchdown. So that's huge. That's all you're looking for to those guys. I'm going to go with a guy I think could have a pretty good week, Antonio Callaway from the Cleveland Browns. $3,800.
Nice.
Yeah. My quarterback, I'm gonna get the two best running backs on the Baltimore Ravens. I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson.
Well played.
All right.
Mark, you get that turn, baby.
Okay. So running back, I'm going to choose a well-advised Mark.
I already have him, bro.
500. Oh, my bad.
Be stepping on my toes.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Well, dreams crushed.
Okay, then I'm gonna take. He needs no nickname, but I'm gonna take Chris Carson.
Look at this. Adam Cute ready to go. 4,600 is value for Chris Carson.
All right, who you got else? You got another pick, Mark.
Okay. So wide receiver position. This is a bit tricky. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with a bit of value here and take Cortland Sutton.
Landon.
Ooh,
yeah, I hate to see
boy.
it, Landon. You're going big.
I'm gonna go top of the slate. I'm gonna get Odell Beckham Jr. in my lineup. 8,800.
Okay. Respect. That's a big investment.
Yep. I've been getting values all along. I should be good with Mr.
I'm gonna go with the projected 37 total touches man out of Arizona, David Johnson at $7,300.
Now we're seeing
studs are coming up, and this is why I spend cheap to start. So I'm kind of in consideration here. Do I want to spend down at wide receiver so I can spend up at the flex position? That's typically what I like to do. I'm going to go with another start of the week, putting a lot of confidence into these guys, but Emmanuel Sanders, 55 hundo.
I thought about it.
$5,500. Leaves me in a good spot for the flex.
So
Michael?
It's me, my friend.
Okay, my bad.
Who am I gonna go with? You picked some good options. I think my last wide receiver, I'm gonna try to fit in. I haven't really prepared for this yet. I'm gonna fit in Keenan Allen,
baby,
as my last wide receiver. All right, Marky, you got 2 picks. Your last 2 picks coming up.
Okay, so I'm gonna go value again. You know what? My third wide receiver position, I'm gonna go with Mike Williams at 35.
That is Flyer Central.
Flyer Central, but it leaves me with enough to take. It leaves me with enough to take basically whoever I want at running back for my flex position, and I think that person will be.
Don't do it.
I love it.
Wow, that's big. I took Saquon last week, and that was beautiful for me.
My last pick, I have 4,300 left. I have no good options. but I will take a flyer in John Ross at $4,100.
I don't mind it.
Against Cleveland.
Do you have Tyler Boyd too, though? Mark does. Okay.
I got Boyd. Yeah.
I got $8,000 left for my flex position, and I'm debating here between James Conner and Christian McCaffrey. Now they're $100 apart. McCaffrey $7,900, Conner $7,800. I also have Mike Evans in consideration, which is tempting against the Niners, but I'm going to go with the guy that has been a sort of auto play for me in DFS this year, Christian McCaffrey $7,900. Using almost all my cashish.
I've got $200.
I got a hundy.
What you got money left on the table, Marky?
$1,100.
Oh, that's a lot.
So you can swap out if you actually play the tournament. But you went cheap.
I love this. I love this squad.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
I'm Scottish. I'm cheap. I'm gonna take that $1,100, and I'm gonna put that away for the kids in the future.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Nice having Mark on the pod, getting this rolling. Shout out to Amazon for shipping out that mic extra quick.
Canada Post not being on strike for that
was
week.
Huge. No, it's been a good episode.
Like and subscribe if you just like this podcast way more now in its current evolution.
Yeah, if you go over to iTunes and leave us a review if you're still listening, mention Mark, man. Shout out to Mark.
Yeah, thanks for coming on,
we planning to do a little Twitter blast or a sleeper AMA tomorrow, or Landon, you working?
I'm on call tomorrow afternoon, but we'll see. I might not be called in, so I might be good to go.
All right, boys, that's going to do it for us, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Peace.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at SMS_fantasy. Support this independent podcast at patreon.com/SaturdayMorningSnap.